Hello, this is my Circ12 C Attempt. My name is Christian Williams, and it is December 5th of 2021. I am re-recording this attempt because it turns out that the audio on the three that I had filmed previous in the week all failed. So I'm actually recording this after having already recorded my A attempt. Um, just to give you an idea of what's going on here. So Circ11 required a relay, which I had purchased at the beginning of the semester from SparkFun, but it turns out it does not work. And uh, as I am a fully online student in Minnesota, and this class is actually from a college in Texas, I do not have access to the electronics store that the professor has given the other students. So Mr. Garcia gave me permission to do Circ12 instead of Circ11. So to give a brief overview of what that means, Circ12, my C attempt, will be importing the source code from the Circ12 directly into the Arduino. The Circ-B will be using an element from the Making It Better section. In this case, I decided to do the random color function. And then my Circ-A is the Circ-C, using the RGB LED, but adding some components and changing the code to do something interesting. For the Circ12 C, to give an idea of what's going on, for Circ12, we are using an RGB LED, which is basically three LEDs in a single housing. The human eye is capable of seeing red, green, and blue wavelengths, which is why we use RGB LEDs. Mixing those lights together can give us different colors. So if we mix, for example, you can see here red and green, we can get yellow. If we do just green and blue, we can get cyan, red and blue gets magenta, and having all three creates white. And so kind of mixing with all those colors, you can create pretty much any color on the light color wheel specifically, using red, green, and blue. So this gives us, with one LED, we can have access to the full color spectrum instead of having a specific LED just do a specific color. So the C attempt, as I mentioned, we are copying and pasting source code here. I actually went ahead and downloaded it from this code here, which you can see right here. I just copied and pasted it into the Arduino over here. And the wiring for this is fairly straightforward. My LED is slightly different, however, so this wiring setup is not exact. This, as you can see, has the common pin for the RGB LED, which has 4 pins, the common pin connected to positive. Mine is different, however. There is a difference between two different types of LEDs. There's a common cathode and a common anode. Mine is a cathode, so I actually have to wire mine into ground. The schematic that we are given uses an anode, which means it would be plugged into the positive. So this schematic here you can see is using that anode because it's connected into the positive column. Mine is a cathode, so I have to connect it into the negative. The other thing, too, that I noticed about this LED when I was testing it is the green and blue leads are swapped. So this one shows the blue lead being on the bottom, or the one furthest away from the common, when it is actually the green one that is furthest away from the common. So just to give it a little idea, it'll make more sense as we go through the code, why my code looks a little different. I did have to change it somewhat because of that. Okay, so we've combined the code, copied the code into my Arduino here. So to give you an idea, we have our RGB LED pins over here, which is contained within an array, just to make it a little simpler, 9, 10, 11. They have to be 9, 10, 11 because later in the project we'll be using the pulse width modulation feature of those pins to get specific values in order to get access to all the colors on the color wheel. Again, my LED has the green pin on the outside, but I'm connecting it to pin 10 just for consistency. Now we are using a different data type in this one that we haven't used in other circs, which is Boolean. We've used constant before, which just means that value will not be changed later in the program. Boolean gets a very specific true, false, on, off, 0, 1 relationship with that value, which for this case makes sense. We have on and off. So on in this case is high, and this is because we were using a cathode. Off is low. If you were using an anode, these values would have to be swapped. So what we can do, because we've set up that Boolean relationship of on or off, is we can set up constant Boolean values for each color. So red in this case would be just the red LED turned on, green would be just the green, blue would be just the blue, yellow would be red and green, cyan would be blue and green, and so on. So these store very simple values of 0, 1, 1 or 1, 0, 1, that sort of thing. Then we have an array that just kind of stores up the predefined colors, which we'll be using later when we're doing random colors. It is not used in the C attempt. For setup, all we're doing is defining those 3 LED pins as output. And the loop for the C attempt is we are just setting the color to a specific color. So inputting cyan, our Arduino then knows to go up here and knows, oh, I need to do 0, 1, 1, and input that into the LED to turn it to cyan. As you can see, there's a bunch of other code. We'll use that in Circ12. All right, now to the wiring. As you can see, it's cyan. Another fun fact about this particular LED, the green is a little dimmer than the blue. So the blue is kind of overpowering it, but if I remove one of these pins here, you can see that slight change there. If I move the middle one, there we go. You can see that the green is in fact on just by moving that wiring. So as you can see, we have the 3 pins over here, 9, 10, and 11. We are connected to ground for that common, which is going right between these 3 resistors, and that is our RGB LED. Power and ground is still set to 5 volts. We're not doing anything fancy with the 3.5. And then just to show that this is in fact working, if we go back into this code and we change cyan to, let's do magenta, and we re-upload the program. If we go down here, you can see the LED is now magenta, which is just combining red and blue. All right, so that is my Circ C attempt. I'll see you in my re-recording of my Circ B attempt.